Hi, I'm Anna. I'm a compulsive overeater, grateful for abstinence. Uh, yeah, I I became abstinent on December 8th, 1980. And I'm so grateful that one day at a time this program works and says you never have to go back. And I'm not today. I don't want to go back today. But step one was actually really hard for me because I did not know I was powerless over food. On page 59, just to read step one, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, over food, that our lives had become unmanageable. I did not believe either of those things was true. The only thing that I had a problem with was my weight. I had very long hair. I cut off my hair to get the number down. I, peed first before I weighed myself. The only thing out of control in my life was weight, and that no one was in love with me and asked me to marry them. Once those two things were under control, I was going to be fine. Someone was with me at a meal at a restaurant and said, you might want to try Overeaters Anonymous. Of course, never heard of it. Again, I didn't have any problems. And it hung on my fridge for 6 months. And then I realized all the little tricks I had for dieting, and I'd been going up and down 20, 25 pounds a month. I'd gained 30 pounds. I'd gained 150, but lost 120 in 6 months. And all of a sudden I couldn't lose the 20 pounds in the 2 weeks I was going up and down. And I realized I couldn't stop. And I thought, well, let me go to this thing, this meeting. It was in the basement of a hospital. So I walk into this meeting and they're all nuts. They got scales, they were middle-aged. I don't know. It was just nuts. And that's how I saw it. Because they weren't talking about food. They weren't doing meal plans. They weren't doing, I read about Weight Watchers. And, there was no food to buy, nothing. And I ran out of that one. But luckily they gave me a meeting list. And the next day I went to another meeting in another hospital. And at that meeting, as I mentioned earlier, someone came up to me and said, do you have a sponsor? And I'm just really, actually, I guess it was a week later because I pigged out worse than ever. And I'm just so grateful to this day that she asked, as opposed to, God's time. Well, she knew now's the only time God gives us, and she offered, and I'm forever grateful. And I said no. It was like one of the first times I didn't lie about something. And she said, here's my number, call me in the morning. And she said, in the meantime, here's what you're going to eat for the rest of the day. She gave me a dignity of choice, choose any meal plan. She says, but only number one, because you can't count any higher and remember it. And I'm like, whatever. And it was true. And at that time, number one was actually a very sane and simple 3 meals a day. And it had certain quantities of, stuff. And I've never binged since. That woman helped me. She also said, before 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, read the first 164 pages in this book. And then in the morning, tell me if you want it or not. Just switch the word alcohol to food. I did. In the morning, I said, I want it. And the other thing was that someone had, in those days, every meeting was someone's story. And someone told a story that I identified with, and she was sparkling and 100-pound weight loss, and I wanted it. So what my sponsor did then was work with me. She started me on questions for steps 1 to 3. I still use it when I sponsor. I don't try to improve my sponsoring from how I was sponsored. I try not to. Every once in a while I think, oh, Anna's way, new way, same way. But I didn't know I was powerless over the food, and I could hardly get from one meal to the other. I was just white knuckling it, freaking out, thinking I was going to die between meals. Actually called her between 2 meals, said, I'm starving to death. She said, nobody's ever starved between lunch and dinner. And I was like, whoa, that was big news to me. And I I cleaned out my entire kitchen of every, you know, I stopped eating sugar, I stopped eating white flour, whatever she said, because I didn't know what I was doing, but all I knew was I wanted what she had. So I just did whatever she said. I took about 8 bags of food to my brother, dumped it off at his house, and because I didn't have the nerve to throw it in the rubbish, I put it in his house, let him eat that rubbish, or throw it out. And she just really, through these questions, helped me figure it out. The directions are on page 30 to 35, the primary directions for step 1. And the very beginning of that, you know, it's just really letting us know, what is this disease, compulsive overeater? I'm an overeater. I don't identify with anorexia. I do identify with undereating as a way of losing weight until I pig out the next time. But I never found joy in the undereating, except in that I could lose some weight and then eat more when I broke my little diet or starvation, whatever it was. But so I don't identify with not eating until you die, and how cool that would be. So I'm not anorexic, but I have this disease where if you put something in me, I cannot stop eating. And so the second paragraph, we learned, and this is what my sponsor helped me. She did not help me feel better ever. And my current sponsor never helps me feel better. You know, they help me be honest. And I learned we had to fully concede to our innermost selves. I mean, it's just like they pile this stuff on, that we were compulsive overeaters. This is the first step in recovery. The delusion, this is one of my favorite lines in the book. The delusion that we are like other people, or presently may be, has to be smashed. You know, I am never going to be a normal eater. Today's my 40th wedding anniversary. We're going out to lunch. Well, what did I do? I called the restaurant. I've already chosen my meal. I got the whole thing. My husband actually called. He was cute. He doesn't usually do this. He said, I called and they said you could bring a piece of fruit yourself. And I was like, oh my God. I was going to eat it in the car later. And he's like, you can pick it into the restaurant. So, you know, I'm a compulsive overeater. And the delusion that I will ever be normal had to be smashed. And smashed, you know, irreplaceably broken. It can't be put back together again. I think a lot of people think, you know, they're going to work these steps and they'll have a normal life. This is not normal to be a compulsive overeater. It is really different from normal people. And I never want to think, oh, I'll be fine. You know, I hear a lot of people go, oh, yeah, I'll be fine. And I'm like, well, good luck with that one, because I'm not fine. I'm a compulsive overeater with a serious illness that is alive and kicking all the time. And that's what I had to learn in step 1. It never takes a holiday. You know, I remember hearing people, my sponsor would say, oh my gosh, you know, somebody's going on holiday and they're not going to call their sponsor. Well, good luck with that one. As opposed to, that's when you call more. And, or when somebody dies, or when you lose your job, or it's not like, oh, well, I don't have time for a meeting because I'm really busy right now. I'm really busy right now, so I'm going to 2 meetings because I'm a compulsive overeater and it is never going away. And any bit of chaos in my life means that my disease is excited and ready. And if I don't remember that, you know, people say, well, you've been abstinent so long, it must come naturally. This is not natural. For me, a compulsive overeater, to eat in a sane way, it's not natural at all. It's what I do today because I work this program and I have a higher power that helps. But the idea that ever I'm going to be normal, gone. I will never be normal. And I find that very comforting. One, I didn't know anything was wrong with me when I came in. And then to learn that it was a permanent condition, never go away, like the guy whose legs are cut off. It's never growing back. It's never growing back. And I'm just really glad I know that today. The next paragraph, we've lost the ability to control our overeating. We know that no real compulsive overeater ever recovers control. And it says later, you know, we'll find out if you're a real compulsive overeater. What's a real compulsive overeater? We will never recover control, ever. It will never be there. That first bite is right there all the time going, I could help you through this difficult situation. It's always there. Now, do I feel it? No. Have I had a craving? I have one maybe every 5 years. I have
10 minutes, 5 more minutes.
Thank you. So yeah, is recovery that this thing is right there all the time in my head? No, but it has to be in my knowledge. Just because it's not actively having conversations in my head does not mean, the saying is it's doing push-ups in the background, the disease. And that's my experience, just watching people who go back into the food. Often it's really scary and they balloon fast. And, that's enough information for me. I don't really want to have to try it out for myself to see what happens. But learning that. And, down at the bottom of that paragraph, we're convinced the compulsive overeaters of our type are in a grip of a progressive illness. I'd only ever been 30 pounds overweight. Well, I knew right then that day, actually, there was a friend of mine who was about 250 pounds overweight. And I looked at her and I thought, okay, 50 pounds a month, which is what I was putting on at the time, is 5 months. I'm going to be as big as her. So, I knew I was headed that way. We're like people who have lost their legs, they never grow new ones in that next paragraph. Yeah, they say it in how many times, because we're blockheads. So they're like, well, let me give you this example. Let me give you that example. It's hopeless. And that's what step one is, hopeless. We're not throwing out a life ring. We're saying you are going to drown. And that's what step one is about. This is not a program where we go, oh, well, we want you to feel good today. And you need to feel really crappy for this program to work. You need to feel like you're ready to commit suicide for this program to work. And my first sponsor helped me go down, 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 down until I had no hope left. About my life being unmanageable. Well, just page 31 at the bottom. We don't like to pronounce any individual as compulsive overeater, but you can quickly diagnose yourself. Go in a donut shop, have one, see how you go. Oh, right. Wrong. There's no way I could, let alone just eat one. I wouldn't buy just one. I go, well, there's 6 for the price of whatever. But as sponsors, when you say, go back and gain 100 pounds, when you are ready, this program will work. When you hate yourself enough and hate your disease enough, it'll work. On page 33, this case contains a powerful lesson. Most of us have believed if we remained abstinent for a long stretch, we could therefore eat normally. That's what has to be smashed. I've been abstinent now for 40 years. I cannot eat normally. I eat according to a food plan. My husband, he eats normally. He doesn't have a food plan. He's not measuring out his almonds or counting 7 almonds at breakfast.
2 more minutes.
Thanks. And a little bit farther down, we have seen the truth demonstrated again and again. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. Once a compulsive overeater, always, no matter how much abstinence or how much fabulous, got my job, got my husband, got my car, got my dog, got my whatever. If we are planning to stop overeating, there must be no reservation of any kind, no lurking notion that someday I will be immune to the food. Never going to happen. And then talks about the mental twist. I was going to just mention the unmanageability of life. I couldn't quite get my teeth brushed. I couldn't quite get my sheets changed. I only thought I'd be happy with a husband. That was a big thing that I had to let go of. And an OA, well, page 34, for those who are unable to eat moderately, the question is how to stop altogether. We're assuming, of course, the reader desires to stop. If I'm desiring to eat normally, not going to work. I have to want to stop compulsively overeating. I have to really want it. And once I want it, then, that's where I find in sponsoring, when someone really wants to stop, you can't do anything wrong. If they don't want to stop, They need lots of time. Everything you do is, bro, my first sponsor did this, my second sponsor. They don't want to stop. They want somebody to make them feel better, or who knows what. But somebody who wants to stop, this program absolutely works. But the unmanageability of life, it is unmanageable. And that's where the future steps, the second step is that we're mentally nuts, and we believe there's a power that can help it be manageable. But step one, unmanageable. There's no hope of it being manageable. That's why it's so important to take step one before we start getting all that hope stuff. I have to know it's hopeless.
Time.
Thanks.